The Khoslas and their ownership group take over a tremendous run after the late Paul Allen and his sister Jody championed this tremendous franchise for so many years. Paul Allen bought the team for $194 million back in 1997. The same year, the Seahawks drafted their best offensive lineman ever, Hall of Famer Walter Jones. And it is great to have Big Walt on the show today. First of all, Walt, thanks a lot for coming on.
I appreciate it, man. It's always good to get on here with you guys, man. Have some little fun.
All right, Walt. When you look at the sale of this team for an NFL record $9.6 billion, that blows away the previous record of $6.5 by the Commanders. Were you surprised at all by the $9.6 billion?
Not at all. I think what Seattle was able to do here with the fan base, and then, coming off a Super Bowl win, that's just going to raise that money up higher and higher. So that's the going rate now, and you understand that, especially coming out of Seattle. So all the other owners or potential buyers for other teams going to know where they stand financially. But I still think that the things that the Seahawks are doing right now, they are a hot commodity, and you want to be a part of it.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I was actually with some of the current Seahawks when this news was announced, and they seemed pretty excited by it. Do players typically concern themselves much with the sale of a team?
I don't think so. I think it's part of the thing. I think once you have I don't know a lot of guys. I never, went through that with a new buyer. So I think it's all about just seeing what type of, you stand that they're big football fans. So you just want to see how they're going to interact with the team, with the fan base and all that. Are they going to be a part of that? Or are they going to sit back and trust the people's in the front office that they're going to get the job done and just be an owner like you're supposed to? But are they going to be those types of owners that's going to be in the locker room, that's going to have fun on the sideline? And I think that'll work fine for this team because it's a very young team, and anytime that you can have somebody else have your back, somebody one like that, you got to feel good to go out there and play for them.
Walt, when Paul Allen initially bought the Seahawks, he made it clear he would be a hands-off owner, really by example as much as anything else. You could see what he was going to do, and he left the operation to those he hired. How important is that approach compared to a meddling, more controlling owner?
I think it is what it is. I think for this organization it works. In some organizations it doesn't work. And still, again, it's a learning process. I think the guys that's in the front office, they do a great job of building this team, putting a great team on the football field. So I know that he got to feel pretty good of what he's getting in return with this team. So I think it's just one of those things. I think it's a wait and find and see what type of owner this guy's going to be and where he's going to be, especially in the building, on the sideline, where he's going to be one of those, like you're saying, meddling owners where you're going to see his face all the time. But still, again, I think it's going to be great for the fans to get a chance to see this person and see what he's all about. So I think the fans going to look forward to seeing him on the sideline or seeing him in videos and all that stuff.
One of the challenges that they'll have to face immediately is the future of Lumen Field. The stadium lease is up in 2031. There's a need for more suites and more seating because the current capacity is 68,700. The NFL minimum to host a Super Bowl is 70. And do you think that they're going to try to be able to do this to ever be in the position to host a Super Bowl?
I don't know. I think it's all about weather and stuff. Every year, when the Super Bowl comes, I always think about that. Can the Seahawks host a Super Bowl? And literally, like every year, the weather's been pretty good on Super Bowl Sunday. But still, again, I think it's all about if they can do all this stuff. I think with the World Cup, you can see that Seattle can host and take in a lot of people coming into the city. So I think if it's something that they can do, especially with this price tag, I think that's not going to be an issue for them as they got to put more seats in the stadium or whatever they have to do to try to host a Super Bowl.
It's funny you bring up weather, Walt, and when the Seahawks won their very first Super Bowl, winning their first Super Bowl championship. Of course, it's not their very first Super Bowl they competed in, but back in New York, they set that thing up, and the Seahawks were set up to play the Broncos, and everybody's going into that one wondering, you guys are playing a Super Bowl in New York in late January, early February. How is that ever going to work out? But remember that day being in the 50s. It was an unbelievably nice day for New York, just one little circle. But it is interesting how weather sometimes has a play in things. But that particular year, man, you would have thought the weather was going to be big trouble.
Exactly. I think, like I said, that was the same year that I got into the Hall of Fame. So I was there on the sideline when the kickoff started. And honestly, it was probably the perfect football weather. And you didn't expect that going into a New York game or a New Jersey game. But still, again, I think people remember as soon as that game was over with, the snow came in. So they were just off by a day. So that's a good thing. But still, again, I think about the Super Bowl that they had in Minnesota where, yeah, it was indoors, but I think it wasn't fun for the fans going out in the cold weather. So for me personally, I feel like you should have it on a neutral site where the weather is nice, so you can get out, the fans especially get out and enjoy the city and enjoy all the stuff that the Super Bowl hosts during the week of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they had to use that tunnel system in Minnesota for people just to get around. Transitioning to more of just this current team, NFL training camps open this week for rookies. Seahawks rookies report Friday. What's the best piece of advice you could give a rookie? And do you remember some of the advice that you got when you were a rookie?
You know what? I just tell rookies, hey, just go in with an open mind. Don't worry about one day. Just try to stack good days. And I think that's the best way to do it because there's going to be tough days at training camp. You're coming into something new. You don't know how the practice flows go. So I think it's all about just having good days. Once you start to get stuff on film, just try to get better every day from that film study. So, and I would tell the young guys, just get in those books. Stay in those books. So, right now they're iPads, but stay in your iPads. So now when your number is called, you're ready to get on the football field and play. So I think it's all about just stacking good days as training camp goes along.
Hey, Walt, who was your mentor? Who was the guy that kind of took you under his wing when you first showed up at the Seahawks? And did that person, what was the piece of advice that you got?
I would say when I came in there, it was Howard Mudd came in, and Howard Bauer came in, and he was a veteran guy. He had played on the Buffaloes, the the losing Super Bowls. And I think the number one thing he told me, I remember coming off practice, when you're practicing so many days and your hands start to swell as linemen, that's the number one thing that you try to prevent is the swelling of your hands. So he taught me how to tape my finger to prevent the spraining and stuff like that. So those are the things that you see on a young lineman. You look at any young lineman playing game, they'll be out there with no tape on their finger, but then by year two, now you start seeing they start taping their finger because that's the number one thing that you have to deal with in training camp is your hands swelling up so bad from practice, and then now you got to find ways to try to get the swelling out for the next practice. So I learned that I was doing the hot wax to try to get the sweat out, and Howard came up to me and said, "Hey, well, you got to tape those fingers to keep those fingers from being sprung and all that stuff." So, and it definitely helped out. So now you see all the linemen, every lineman I think I know, tape their fingers up because that's also a preventive method, and I think you learn that early, and you're going to appreciate that in the long run.
Yeah, that worked out really well for you because Howard was a veteran. They brought over from the Bills, I think, at that time, and his little window in Seattle, it was small, but it was perfect for you coming in at that time to get that kind of advice from that kind of a veteran.
Exactly. And I think for me personally, I was a person of just watching people, so I kind of watched how he got ready. What time did he go get his ankle taped? What time did he go in that shoulder pad? What time was he on the football field? And as offensive linemen, we're not the last minute people on the football field. We want to get out there. We want to embrace the heat, see what we got to deal with all day. So I think for me personally, those guys to come along with those guys, especially like him, Cortez Kennedy, all those guys that were veteran guys that knew how to play the game. So for me personally, just to watch those guys, it definitely helped me to prepare and get ready for the season.